So now we are moving to our project. Our first step is to create the tables and their relationships chart. So these are the list of tables which is required for creating the invoice. So first table would be the invoice table, in which we need invoice number, invoice or order date, customer code, employee ID, tax percentage, or the total value of the invoice. So data type I have already assigned here. So for invoice number would be auto number, then date and time for the order date, short text for the customer code, number for employee ID and tax percentage, and currency for the total value of the invoice. So now let me see what is the second table we require. We need invoice detail table, in which we will store the product ID, quantity, rate, and value. Why we need another table? Because in an invoice we may have more than one product. So we will create a relationship between these two tables using the invoice numbers. Invoice number would be the primary key in the invoice table, and this would be the foreign key. And we can create the relationship between these two tables using the invoice number. The third table would be the product detail, in which we will store the product related details. Product ID would be the primary key. We will create the relationship between the invoice detail table and the product table using the product ID. We will create the relationship between these two tables using the product group. We need customer table also, in which we will create the relationship using the customer code. We require employees table, then we will create the department table as well. Then we will create the relationship between these two tables using the customer ID, and we will create the relationship between the invoice table and employee ID table using the employee ID. Now we can see all tables are connected together. Now we will create these tables and we will store the data in these tables.